Oh, good morning, my magnificent ones. We're back with Tea with Sue. I'm Sue Paulson, your magnificence mentor. A little article came across my feed the other day talking about Aristotle's 11 virtues. Now, I was curious to see what they were because Aristotle goes way back. In fact, I had to Google to see when in history Aristotle showed up. Well, he was on planet Earth from 384 to 322 BC. So that's quite a few years ago. Well, it proved to me when I read this list of 11 virtues and his definitions that there are no new ideas in the world. Because guess what I found? The most astounding thing, one of those 11 virtues was magnificence. And I'm going, really? Okay. So he talked about, and in fact, his definition of magnificence started with the words, the magnificent man is like an artist, for he can see what is fitting. Now, I'm not sure I exactly understood what he means by that. And of course, I can't ask him. So I'm going to go with my definition of magnificence. So to me, in the context of us as humans, first of all, think of the magnificent bodies that house us. The human body is wired so amazingly to heal, to do all manner of things, to just operate automatically without us having to think about it. It breathes, blood flows, everything that we need to do things, whether it's eat, sleep, run, jump, whatever, it knows how to do it. And once it's trained to respond, it just goes into action right away. So we start off with this temple called a body that has been created in true magnificence. Even as great as the mountains are, I think the human body is that much more magnificent. So it's very magnificent in its own way. And then, of course, we as souls who come into these bodies, well, we come from the all that is, from God, the source, whatever you want to label that. And so as I read on a bumper sticker one day, God don't create no junk. Well, we're magnificent in our own right as souls who inhabit these temples. So magnificent, right? We're born that way. But things happen as we grow and learn and experience and open up and have thoughts and ideas, some of which aren't ours and some of which do belong to us. Perceptions, expectations, all these kinds of things can get in the way of us being as magnificent as we are. So when I looked at these 11 virtues, I thought, what might support us in really living our own magnificence? First of all, recognizing it, believing it, claiming it, and then really living it. Well, on the list was courage. So certainly if you want to know what all the 11 virtues are, just Google it and up it'll pop, because it was a recent article. Courage, though, was high on the list of virtues. Now, virtues can also be defined as character traits in human existence, that the value that we place on certain things in order to do well in the world that's around us. So Aristotle thought that recognizing our magnificence was one virtue that was important. And another one that he recognized as very important was courage. the ability to act despite whatever fears we might have, whatever blockages or challenges were in the way, that we draw on courage. Well, I like to define courage as small acts of bravery that are piled on top of one another. So it doesn't mean you're without fear. It just means you do it anyway. You feel the fear and go forward. Now, how does this tie into the whole magnificence thing? Well, I'm suspecting that you, like me, had lots of messages from our elders that tried to kind of drill into us how we, quote, should be. Well, you want to have this kind of a job, and you want to get this kind of an education, and you want to have this kind of a life partner, and this is what the definition of success is. And notice I said the definition, not a definition, the definition. Excuse me. So this builds, and of course, when we're new and vulnerable to the planet, we take in this information in a very significant way because we're sponges. And of course, we tend to believe what we're being taught or told because we don't know any different. And of course, we're dependent on these elders for our survival. Oh, goodness, something's stuck on my throat here. So as we grow, and especially when we get to the teenage years and we start to begin to feel more of our own power and our individuality, and we want to explore that and we want to get out there, some teenagers stage very visible rebellions against whatever was taught to them as they were growing up. And some, like me, stage kind of quiet rebellions. So I would rebel in small ways, and maybe my parents never even knew about the ways I was rebelling, but I found myself in resistance to some of the ideas that came across. But of course, the messages are still there. So it's almost like this tape or this program plays in the background in our heads. We think of doing something that might be a little bit off the wall or very different from the expectations that were given to us when we were younger. And this message, oh, I don't think you better do that. Wow, there could be danger there, or what will people think? And it's really important that you don't let the family down. It's really important that you follow this path and don't deviate, because that could bring shame on the family, or you'll disappoint us, or whatever. Well, these are almost hardwired, these messages that come in. So there's the block to us feeling the magnificence that's already there. And it takes a great deal of courage to override those messages, to override those tapes, and to say, okay, I'm an adult now. I get to pick. I get to decide. I get to choose what's best for me. Will I make mistakes? Probably. Everybody does. But in the end, I'm going to feel as if I've been leading my own life, not somebody else's life, but my own life. It's not what somebody else said was best for me. Well, we know best. Well, you know best for you, but you don't know best for me, because I'm me and I'm different than you are. So, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that their path wasn't great for them and it isn't a great path. It just may not be your path. Well, especially when we're in our 20s and 30s, and sometimes even our 40s, it takes some courage to say, I'm not going there. That is not for me. I'm going to try other things and I'm going to explore. Well, then at some point, we start finding our feet and saying, wait a minute, I'm the one that pays my bills. I'm the one that looks after the household. I'm the one that's raising my kids. Well, then I need to be in charge. I don't need other people still running my life or ruling my thoughts or whatever. So it becomes a little bit of a battleground for a while to quieten those inner voices and say, stop talking. No, I'm not listening to you anymore. What you said may have been valid in the past, but this is not me. This is not for me. The other stumbling block that comes in is we get very concerned about what others will think of us if we do or don't do this, and this. So that's a trap. That's a huge trap. And we fall into it over and over again. And we hesitate. Oh, what will they think if we? So I'll give you an interesting example out of, I was 27. My grandmother and I, we were tight. We traveled to Europe for the very first time. Neither of us had been off the continent. And there we are in an elevator in one of these places. And there's some other people get on the elevator, a couple of fellows get on the elevator, and I start talking to them. And we get off the elevator on our floor and we're walking down the hallway, and my grandmother turns to me and said, "You're not supposed to talk to strangers." Kind of, what? So, and I realized how deeply ingrained, for her, that was, whoa, you talk to those strangers and you shouldn't have been doing that. And I'm kind of going, well, excuse me, that. So it seemed odd that she would say that, but it did confirm that program was firmly entrenched in my mind. And it took some effort for me to override that and say, no, because let's face it, there are times when you need to talk to a stranger because you need help. You need direction somewhere. You need somebody to help change your tire or call for help or whatever. Well, if they're a complete stranger and you're not allowed to talk to them, you're hooped. You're not going anywhere. So that's just a simple example of, oh, what do they think? I talk to a stranger, or I approach somebody, and everybody tells me how dangerous that is. Well, quite honestly, what other people think is their business. It's not your business. It's their business. And what they think of you is not your business. What you think is your business, and how you go about living your life is your business. So there's a couple of strategies that can help with that. And one of them is to just consciously, I'm thinking about what others might think if I do this. I'm thinking about that again. That just dropped into my mind. And it's to just literally push that away. And so, no, thank you for weighing in, but I'm going this other path now. So it's like you're reprogramming yourself. And it may take many times to keep reprogramming, because we're creatures of habit because of patterns that were established earlier on. And that works for us in the most cases, unless the pattern is destructive or it takes us in a direction that we don't want to go. Well, if it's taking us in a direction we don't want to go, then we need to repattern. We need to reprogram ourselves and say, oh, okay, this is different. So when I was a teenager, I loved Ripple chips with dill pickle dip, and I could eat the whole bag in one sitting and most of the dip along with it. Was that good for my body? Nah, no. I mean, my body tolerated it, but it got to a point over the years, I thought, this is probably not that healthy for me. So I had to reprogram my idea of what a snack was and reach for fresh vegetables instead of chips to nibble on. So we look at this all the time because some of these patterns don't serve us, or they don't serve us anymore. So it takes some courage to do that. And it takes some kind of sober second thought about that. Now, the other reason that we may not dive into our magnificence as much as we could is the fear of being that visible. If I'm responsible for my own magnificence and for playing as big as I can possibly be, whoa, that feels like a huge responsibility. I don't think I want to claim that, because while it might feel sweet on one hand, what could happen? You know, like if I saw myself as that big, what would that mean to me? And I think because we don't have very many role models, we don't know what that would mean to us. However, if we examine where we might go with that, so if I allowed myself to be bigger than I see myself now, I allow myself to shine, to be the brilliance that I have within me, if I allow myself to be as creative as I'm yearning to be, what would you like to have happen? Would it be nice to put your art in a gallery, or have a book published, or go on a speaking tour, or find the best chocolate chip cookie recipe ever and build a business on that, and in fact have a little cookie dynasty? The sky's the limit when it comes to the human imagination and our ability to create. But fear can stop us. Fear of that brilliant light that shines. Marianne Williamson said one time, it's not our dark that we're most afraid of, it's our light. And then it takes a great deal of courage to begin to move through that, to begin to evolve beyond what we came in as, and to set aside the pieces that stop us. We get defensive, or we get so locked down into ordinary, into, well, I just want to be like everybody else. Really? Do you really? Maybe you feel as if you're like everybody else, but I'll bet if you explore it, you don't want to be like everybody else. You want to be uniquely you, which of course you are. You don't cease being uniquely you, but your behavior might pattern other people's behavior so much. I can think of reading about young people who came from poverty and believed that if only they could be successful in their careers and make lots of bucks and have all the toys, then they'd be happy, because that was their marker for success. And then they got there, they're there in their mid-30s, they get there, and they're no happier than they were when they were poor and downtrodden and things were bleak. And they're going, what? But I thought, I was told, and they felt betrayed. They felt as if they'd been sold a bill of goods. And so in both instances that I read about, they walked away from that success and began to redefine success for themselves. How will I feel successful? Like, what does that mean to me? And part of that self-exploration takes lots of courage to get there. So this week, spend a little time exploring your own magnificence and kind of trying on, what would that mean to me? Even if it was just tiny bit by tiny bit by tiny bit, I allowed my own light to shine. First of all, inside me, and you just feel it glowing and growing and growing, and it lights up your eyes, right? And you go, ooh, this feels good. I'm happier, I'm more content, I'm whatever. And then of course, try it on, like spread that to those around you and see what effect that has on them. And you don't have to do it as a big explosion, although you might, but you could do it little by little by little. That's certainly what I've done, is little by little, I've come out of my shell and revealed more and more of me. Less and less do I care about what others think. Some will like me, some won't. So what? Carry on. And that's the attitude that I deliberate. Does it mean that sometimes what someone might say or think kind of hurts me a little bit? Yeah. But then I think, well, that's their business. That's not my business. And my business is to deal with that and allow them to just be who they are, and then I can be who I am. So that's it for this week, my magnificent friends. I wish you a glorious weekend. I know American Thanksgiving is coming up next week, so I wish you the joys of the holiday with family and friends. And of course, lots of turkey and pumpkin pie. That's what we have at our house for Thanksgiving. Anyway, feast well. And in the meantime, remember, you deserve to own the magnificence that you are. So just find your courage and go for it. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.